So they shouldn't take a court call while we're sitting here, huh?
No, we're streaming now. You could turn your sound, you can mute yourself.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute myself.
Nancy is here.
Hi, Nancy.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Well, thank you. So where is everybody?
Just not here yet.
So much for being prompt.
And we do have the streaming set up on the website and on YouTube. So we are ready to go once we have
Good.
everybody join.
Well, did you all get a chance to see the paper? I think turned out really well.
Hey, Jessica, do we have extra copies at the office?
We do. We have a ton of extra copies. They dropped off probably 200 extra copies.
Good. Okay, I just want to make sure I grab one.
Yeah, I put one in your inbox.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Susan did an outstanding job. There are still some mistakes, but oh well. And actually, she said if we can go over any mistakes people found, they can change their digital edition to make everything right. So,
Oh, great.
Hey, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Thomas will not be able to make it this morning. He's out of town on a work assignment.
Okay, thank you.
Good morning. Can you all hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Good morning, Mike.
How are y'all?
Good, good. How's your week going?
So far, so good. Ready for it to be over.
All right. So who do we have then? Who's here so far?
We're missing Doug Tisdale and Laura Chrisman right now.
Okay. I assume they didn't say if they were, they didn't say that they weren't going to make it this morning, correct?
No, I have not heard from either one of them.
Okay. So how is everybody? It's quiet this morning. What's new? Are y'all working remote? Jessica, you look like you're in the office today.
I am in the
It
office
looks like
today.
you are too.
Yeah, we have a new court clerk that started this week, so I've been helping with training. So I am in the office, he is in the office, and he's been training with our previous court clerk by Zoom because she's working from home. So it's been a little different with his training, but I've been trying to do stuff in the office too. So I'm here today.
Excellent. Well, good. Emily, are you working remotely as well? Pamela, looks like you are, but I
Yes.
can't tell from your background.
Yeah, I'm at home. Most of us are at this point. We're just like one or two in the office anymore.
Excellent. So we need what? We need one more for quorum?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pamela, I went ahead and made you co-host just in case my internet drops off and the streaming won't die, hopefully.
Okay.
I don't have either one of their phone numbers handy right now to text them. At least I don't think I do.
We can, whoops. We could split off and call them, Jessica and Pamela. Do we want to do that to see if we can get?
Yeah, I'm looking for their phone numbers right now. I will call.
Let me make sure they're not in the waiting room. I don't think they are.
Okay, I'll call Doug right now.
Okay, I can find Laura Chrisman's number and give her a call.
I'm happy to call her if you have her number.
I have to pull it up. Pamela, if I text it to you, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna do that. It's quickest.
Doug is logging in right now.
Oh, there you are, Mike. Didn't see you before.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and mute while I call her.
Thank you. I see Doug and I'll let him in.
Thank you so much, and please excuse my tardiness.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Good morning, Doug.
Good morning.
So do we have a quorum then now?
Yes.
All right, let's call the 75th anniversary meeting to order at 0908. Let's do a roll call.
Committee member Tisdale,
Present.
committee member Rob,
Present.
co-chair Maniatis,
Present.
committee member Wyman,
Here.
and co-chair Barry is absent, and committee member Chrisman is absent.
All right, so seeing as we don't have any audience participation, I would assume. We're not
No,
that
we don't have
popular.
anyone sign up.
Okay. Let's go ahead and make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. And I assume nothing's been removed?
Correct.
Okay.
And then
Unfinished.
you need to vote.
Oh, let's vote.
Aye.
Everyone, oh, aye.
Aye.
All right.
Answer with Laura. I did leave a message.
That's okay. We, Doug was able to join and we got started, so we're all set.
Okay, thanks.
So let's see, we've got some unfinished business here with respect to the 75th. Oh. There we go. I assume everyone's had a chance to see the publication, the latest edition of the Villager newspaper.
Yes, I think Susan did a fabulous job. Although,
Outstanding.
Well, yeah. I mean, it wasn't just Susan, but yes, it did come out. Did everyone have a chance to have a look at it?
yes,
Terrific.
I did talk to her and she said if there are any corrections, they can't make it on the one that's been published, but they can make it on their digital copy. And there are still a couple of corrections that need to be made. So I just wanted to go over that with the committee. One is that article that my brother wrote. They misspelled my dad's name, so she's going to fix that. They added a D. And then I still have the issue with the 1951 about Kent Denver School or Kent School for Girls, because where it is, it's not actually in Cherry Hills Village. It's north of University or north of Hampton, and that's Englewood. It's not, I mean, they're adjacent to Cherry Hills Village. But Doug, do you remember the area called Kent Village?
Yes, right.
Yeah, well, but it's not part of Cherry Hills.
Okay, so what, I guess I mean, there's a lot of St. Mary's history in there in Kent that's in Denver. I don't think it matters. I mean, what's the relevancy?
The problem
Part
is
of Kent, Denver's history.
for 1951, it says Kent School for Girls moves to 3401 South University in Cherry Hills Village, which is not accurate. We ought to just say moves to the address and leave it at that.
Okay, I'll change that. I'm the one who's actually making all the edits right now.
All right, well then same with the picture of the 1951. Simply to show the picture is Kent School for Girls. And it would be Kent School for Girls, not schools for girls.
I thought we changed that already, but I'll correct that.
But otherwise, it really looks good.
It's outstanding, and I'm glad you caught those things about Kent, because, yeah, that's
Earlier, but it didn't work.
right.
Well, I mean, there's been a lot of information to manage here. And I mean, I think in total, I think I have over 300 hours of time into this timeline. So there was a few things that, may or may not have been missed. And, with Nancy, with respect to your article, I didn't look at that because you submitted that. So I didn't proof that. That was your article. So if there's anything that needs to be changed, send it over to me because I'm the one who's doing the corrections. Tom has been sending me the InDesign file and I've been making those corrections and sending them back. And he's then incorporating it into the digital edition, of which the last corrections were made yesterday.
Well, anyway,
They're minor cleanups. So, I mean, kudos on the job, terrific work. But absolutely, we got to fix Nancy's dad's name for sure.
We'll send it over. I didn't work. I did the timeline and everything else. I didn't do that article. So whatever needs to be corrected, send it to me, and I'll make sure that it's fixed in the final digital edition.
okay.
And okay. So Emily, are you able? Can you pull up the latest one that I sent you that has the corrections in there, and we can compare them and I can show you what I changed because I think it is substantial enough to warrant the extra effort to fix it. On the very last page of the timeline, the back cover. And so you all know, so let's actually stop right there on the first page. Let's maybe start with that.
Hold on. First page or last page?
Yeah, let's start with the first page. Not that one, the next page. That's the front cover. Let's go to the first page there. So what I changed on this is I feel like the font, I spent several hours trying to find the correct font because what I'd like to do is print this maybe on a cardstock paper or something and present it officially to you, to the city, and to the staff, to city council, so that this is a standalone timeline piece. But I wanted the fonts to be proper, so I went through a lot of the true type fonts and came up with this one. And of course, I welcome any feedback on it. But I felt this was the right sort of historic feel that looked elegant and clean. And the font throughout the timeline is exactly the same. So if you compare the one that's in the original agenda packet with this one, this is the new font, and everything in the entire package is this font.
I think the font's good. It's easy to read.
It's easier to read. Yeah, it sure is. Go ahead
I
and scroll.
Okay. I like a serifed font. I do not like Arial. I like a serifed font, but it's not heavily serifed, and so it's easy on the eye and distinctive lettering. So I think it worked well. What font is it, by the way?
It's Monarca. We had copperplate originally. We experimented with copperplate, but the numbers, they didn't look quite right. This is a semi-bold Monarca that has a really nice, elegant, rounded corners. I just feel like it's a more elegant presentation of the information than the last one. The last one, if you look at the original agenda, had sharper corners on it. I didn't feel like it had the same elegance and flow to it that this one did. So I chose this one for everything, for the headings, for the text, for the numbers. And so let's go ahead and scroll down to the back page there, and you can see the difference between. There you go, between the two. Yeah, go ahead, next page. There we go. And I think that looks a lot nicer than the copper plate, but that's just my opinion. And some of the other changes that we're going to make, which have not been incorporated yet, but will next week, is we're going to pull up. I'm going to pull the 75th anniversary committee and the text, all of the text below that, so that it fits in better with the two. So I'm just going to join the two blocks of text so that it all flows together. And then at the very bottom, I'm going to make the cherry a little bit larger. But what I did do is I made the text, the 75th Anniversary Committee and Cherry Hills Village City staff the same size. I didn't feel like the 75th Anniversary Committee needed a larger font because I think we're sort of all in this project together. So and it also looks, I think, a little cleaner. And I'm welcome any thoughts and comments on that.
No, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, but the names actually appear to be the same font, but the heading, the 75th Anniversary Committee itself, that's a larger font than what it says for Cherry Hills Village City staff. Yes.
Oh, Doug, I think you're looking at the old one.
No, that looks the
Well,
same.
I'm looking at, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the print copy.
Yes, and that is correct. It wasn't supposed to be that way, but if you look at the screen, this is what the digital edition looks like.
Gotcha.
The fonts are the same.
Okay.
Good.
So, and that's it on the timeline.
Well,
Yeah,
and
we've got-
congratulations to Emily for getting top billing there. I think she deserves it. So that's that's nice. You know.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
All the names I assume are correct, right? There are no mistakes on there?
I didn't see any, no. I think it's all right.
Yeah, I didn't see any either. I think they're all right.
Perfect. Okay. Let's move on to the next thing. So, and I guess to sum everything up, what we had promised to the city, or what was promised by the Villager newspaper and by the committee, was 4 pages in the body of the newspaper and a front cover. And we have it's probably double that. So the city got a much better, a much better deal, a lot more information, a lot more coverage in the newspaper than was originally planned. And again, it was a much bigger endeavor than we had anticipated, but I feel like we had a good working relationship with the Villager, and they went above and beyond. They spent days and days, and they were kind enough to send digital files back and forth for me to edit, which they normally don't do because it is, more time and effort on their part, and they didn't charge us any more to do that.
Well, and look at the fact that we got the tie-in articles too.
Yes.
From there. I mean, that was
Right.
nice. And the fact that Kentwood put the banner on the front page congratulating us as well, that was very nice. So we didn't have some extraneous kind of message up there. So, no, I think the Villager worked very hard with others to create an edition that celebrates Cherry Hills Village way beyond what we had originally anticipated. I know that Bob gave me a bunch of extra copies too, and so I'm sure any of us can get extra copies, which I intend to distribute to folks over the next few weeks.
And that's a great point. And I stopped by the country club, with Susan, and spent some time with their communications manager. We went and they took out a full page and congratulated the city. We also went to Coble and Company. If you look in the newspaper, I wrote a full page history of Coble and Company in Cherry Hills Village, which we got some very good feedback on, because they are the oldest developer in the city and have been developing here since the 50s. So I wrote a nice history article about their company. They took out a full page ad as well. So Doug, I think to your point, we did have a lot of, additional tertiary advertising and congratulatory advertising and so forth. We even did one for the land preserve. And so I think you're right. There's a good synergy with this edition, and we've gotten some very good response back for it. And I'm thankful for that.
I also think the recipes for things involving cherries was a nice touch too.
Yeah, and that was Susan's friend that did that, and she did wonderful work with that. So, okay. Let's see here. So the photo exhibit, so I think we're done with it. Any other comments, any feedback on the newspaper article, on the history, on that effort? Anything else that anyone wants to offer with respect to that?
No?
Dino, far exceeded expectations. It was absolutely fabulous.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Thank you, Mike. Really appreciate that. So I guess the next thing is the photo exhibit. I know we put that temporarily on hold because of the fact that City Hall is closed. Is there any progress from anyone on the photo exhibit? I have not done anything with the photo exhibit. Has anyone else?
No?
Okay.
Well, Co-Chair Maniotis, if I may, I just wanted to remind the committee that the funds that are in the budget for the photo exhibit need to be spent before the end of December. They won't roll over into 2021. So we didn't include that in the budget. We do have a line item for the committee in the budget, but it was my understanding that would be more used for events for 2021. So there's about just over $4,000 in the budget for this year for 2020, and that will need to be spent by the end of December so we can keep it in 2020 expenditures.
Okay. So you're looking at that last 41,1386, correct?
Correct.
That we need to spend by the end of the year. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll
I
get
did
to
go
work
ahead
on.
and pay the villager, so that will move up to the next line. It's not anticipated anymore. We actually paid that this week. So there's $4,100 left for the committee to spend in 2020.
And so
Okay.
spend that on the photos then? The metal frame or the metal photos?
Those that has already been paid for, but I think that if there's an opinion on what the rest of the remaining funds should be spent on, I'm open to suggestions on that.
Mr. Chairman, question, let me clarify. So you're saying, because Nancy's question was my question, is this the amount we're going to use to spend to take those photos and transfer them to those metal plates? But you say that's already been done and paid for?
The aerial has been done. Now, I guess what we need to do is we need to select the remaining photographs, and we can coordinate. I can coordinate that with the photo lab. And if we need to, I'm sure that we could, in order to not lose those funds, we can, Jessica, if you're okay with this, knowing that we're going to move forward with this project, we could pay the lab before the end of the month or before the end of the year so that we don't lose the opportunity to use those.
If they send over an invoice, they can somehow put together an invoice for what we'll be using the funds for. I can pay that in 2020. I need some kind of invoice or something from them in order to do that.
Okay, that's fine. I can put that together.
So let me ask a question, if I may, Mr. Chair, and that is looking at the historic aerial image mount. That was $526, but that was the large picture, and these that we will have mounted will be smaller. What is the cost per unit on doing the mounting for each small picture?
So between 11 and 17 and 16 by 20, it will range in price between $100 and about $250. And I know that's a wide variance, but roughly we're looking at about $150 per image that will be mounted on that Illuma board, which is that aluminum. It's the same mounting material that the aerial photograph was placed on.
And how many images are we talking about mounting?
We had looked at an odd number of between 9 and 12. And when Thomas and I have been working on this, and we've been laying this out, although we don't have a final layout for presentation. However, we can send that to the city for dissemination to the committee, and we can decide, at that point.
Well, and if we did 12, and if they average 150, that's $1,800. The point I am taking a long time to make is that I think what we want to do is get an invoice from the photo lab for anticipated work But I tell you, it would not be a bad thing for us to be able to return some funds to the city and show that we did not expend all of those. So if we were to say, for example, $2,400 or so held for future photographic work, prepay that, pick the pictures, go on from there, and then say to the city, thank you very much, we're returning the balance of our funds, which will be something between $1,000 and $2,000. I think that's not a bad message to send.
And I think you're absolutely right. I was very judicious in how I chose to spend these. I felt that the aerial image being the cornerstone image warranted the additional expenditure because it's such an important, and it's an imposing image, but the rest of them don't need to be. So if we have some money left over that we can return to the city, of course, we're happy to do that. Again, I just wanted to be judicious about how we spent the money.
Do we also, though, need to use some of the money for the labeling of the pictures? Because we at the last meeting, we had talked a little about the labeling and also on that aerial image, marking where some streets are. And I don't know whether we're going to use little colored dots. So you know where Hampton is, Quincy, Colorado Boulevard, University, that sort of thing. So I assume there would be a cost for that. And I don't want to give the money back until we get the aerial marked the way we want, and then the photos that we get, we have some way of identifying them, because just to put them up with no labels is not going to do much good.
Well, and thankfully, I don't foresee that as being a significant expense. I imagine it's going to be maybe $150. So that's not going to be, maybe the legend, if we do mount the legend on that aluminum board, there may be an associated cost with that may run approximately the same amount, $150, depending on the size and how many points of interest on the legend that we include. But it will likely be mounted directly below the aerial image, and it will have 18 to 24 points of interest within the city limits and that are contained on the aerial. And so I imagine and that's a good point to bring up. So maybe we should allocate, just to be on the safe side, $350 to cover that expense, in addition to the $2,400, Doug, that you had mentioned. Does that seem like a reasonable amount?
Yes.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're saying is, if we were to say we have $2,400 in photo mat, photo mounting, and maybe $350 for labeling costs, if we can invoice those now, pay them in advance, and then take the next, 4 to 6 weeks actually to get that process done, then we would have a balance remaining of $1,400, something such as that.
Sounds reasonable. I will be in touch with the lab to have a discussion with them about this. And I will also, when Thomas Berry gets back to Colorado next week, we'll sit down and have a conversation more specifically about how many images, what the layout is going to look like, and the size of them. And also the fact that we have to pay attention to the managed rights. These photos that were in the Villager newspaper, I'm still working with the Denver Public Library to secure, and I'm paying for the usage rights for those. They're about $40 to $80 an image for each of those. I'm happy to pay for that, unless we want to allocate a little bit of money from this budget to cover that expense. But there still is an associated cost with that. So that may take up several $100s because the archivist that I've been working with there is they're short. Because of COVID, people are working remotely, so they don't have the resources there and the manpower to handle these photo requests. So I made an arrangement with the library to use the photos preemptively, and we would take care of the managed rights fees at a later date when it was convenient for them. So we still have that expenditure that's outstanding.
Well, I think we ought to add that in before we give money back.
I've paid them for some of that, and that's fine. And I think, Nancy, you're right. We should include that into the budget so that we're not stuck, with an additional bill that, likely I'll have to pay, which is fine. But if there's money allocated for that, I feel that we should utilize it.
I agree.
I agree.
Do too.
So, and I don't know what the final cost will be for that. I've just kind of been paying as we go along, simply because they just, as I mentioned, they don't have the resources, and particularly in the last few weeks, they have not. They've had one or two people. They've had a skeleton crew there at the library, and nobody there working full time to handle this. Because certainly ours is not the only request.
Well,
Okay.
may I suggest, Mr. Chairman, that what we do is if you can use a good faith effort to assess, because I use 2,400 as a shot in the dark, to assess the reasonably anticipated costs for photographic mounting, the good faith estimate as to the reasonable cost to be associated with labeling both the individual pictures and the aerial photograph as indicated, and paying for the rights to use those photographs to come up with that number, and to ensure that there are invoices reflecting those numbers, because the city can only pay upon an invoice, that number be deducted from the 411386 showing on this page, and that the balance remaining, whatever that may be, is the amount that we communicate to City Council that we are returning to the budget, not having been utilized this year because we covered our expenses. That's my proposal.
I think that sounds reasonable. Any other thoughts about that?
I think it's reasonable.
Good plan.
So next week.
Does that also take into account, the cost of hanging the painting, the photos once mounted at the village center? Is there a cost for those metal strips that come down that we hang them on?
It's all a part of the same cost. So the cost that we're looking at between $100 and $250 includes the mounting of the photograph, the clear coat, and the mounting mechanism on the back that works with the city's art installation. The metal adjustable rods that are there. It includes all of that. So there would not be an additional cost for the mounting brackets on the back of the image. It would be all done at the same time by the same company.
But do we need to get more of the rods? Does the city need more since they're using some for the art commission? Are we short?
I think it depends on how many photos we're hanging. If the photos that the committee anticipates purchasing will replace the ones that are hanging now, the exact number, then we're fine. We have enough rods. We didn't have to pull anything down when the art commission hung their photo exhibit. But if there are additional photos that you would like to hang maybe on the opposite wall, because there's a photo there now, so there is still a little room on that side. We do not have any extra rods.
Jessica, do you know what the cost is for each of those rods?
I don't. I can, they purchased it when we moved to City Hall a few years ago, so I will pull the invoice and see if they separated it out, and then send the committee an email to let you know how much it was.
Okay. I think we plan on getting a few more of those rods so that we can, if we want to hang, say, 12 images, we have the rods to do it with.
Okay, I'll pull the invoice today and I'll send an email today.
Sounds great. Okay, and we should have some numbers here, I would anticipate, in the next 2 weeks. As I mentioned, Thomas and I will meet and we'll figure out what the rest of the exhibit will look like. And then we can then adjust accordingly. I can contact both the lab and the library and have them put together the appropriate invoice. And Jessica, I can send that to you once that's been completed, although I don't anticipate that happening by next week. It may take until the end of the month, but I will have something to you before the end of the year for sure, and give you enough time to respond.
Okay. So as long as we have an invoice that's dated 2020. Even I can pay it the first week in January because we do have some expenses that happens where it's a 2020 expense, but it has to be paid in 2021. So I can put that into 2020 expenditures. I just need it right at the end of December, very beginning of January.
Okay. So we'll work on that. There's a little bit of effort, and some time with that, and I'm a little tight on time in December. I know Thomas certainly is, but we will do our best to make that happen. I will have an invoice, no matter what happens. I will have an invoice to you, but we may err on the side of asking for a little bit more so that we're not caught with a shortfall. And we will use all the funds. None of the funds are going to go, none of them are going to go to waste. I mean, there is certainly $4,000. I know we can spend $4,000 on this exhibit. So with that and the managed rights, that'll likely be $1,000 on its own. So I'm confident that as much as we do want to return any surplus funds to the city, which of course we'd like to do, we still are allocated that $4,113 to use for this project. So.
Yeah, I mean, it may get down that we end up giving the city back $500, but it's a nice gesture.
I agree. And I think the entire project is also a nice gesture. I think just the fact that, we've done gone above and beyond, what the city's expectation was. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we've gone above and beyond. I think the timeline and the history and the presentation of the newspaper, I think, will also, combine with any remaining funds as a nice gesture. So I think I'm hoping that they're going to be pleased with the efforts of the committee. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Photo exhibit. Okay, the budget. We've covered the budget. What's the next item?
The next item is really just the next meeting date.
Sorry, it's cut off on. I can't. Let me. Oh, there we go. Okay, next meeting date. I don't know that we.
Well, do we need to talk about the gala in 2021? Thought that was on.
I'm sorry, my screen share is frozen.
I just wondered if we needed to talk about any gala information for 2021, or we just wait and see what 2021 brings.
I think that's up to you all.
I think it's going to be hard to have a substantive conversation about any events in 2021. I think it's impossible to predict what's going to happen. I suspect with what's happening that we will likely not be able to have a real conversation about this until at least February or March.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that we keep this in the queue. I think that we certainly, we have the, gala conversation then. And I think that, and maybe I'm speaking on behalf of the entire committee, but I think we all are in agreement that we should, if it's possible, proceed with the gala event in 2021.
Agreed.
Yes.
And if I may, we have already said that we're anticipating trying to do something in the August-September framework, I think, as we've last had conversations, so that if we were to make a decision sometime in February, that gives us 6 months. We probably have the opportunity to get things done. And I have conversations ongoing with St. Mary's Academy about using that community building facility that has that beautiful view of the Front Range and everything. Because we know that the country club is out, and I think we were also checking with Kent. So I think we have some venues that are tentatively available, and we have venues that will certainly house whatever we end up with as a final event, and that putting this discussion off until probably.
You froze up on me, Doug.
Anyone care to finish his sentence? Probably.
Very reasonable. Oh, wait, I'm
Oh,
sorry, I
Doug.
lost that. All of a sudden my computer froze.
Yeah.
Well, and Doug, I think the
Repeat
good
the
news
end of what
is
you
that,
Yeah, I think it's my connection. I just got a warning my connection is unstable.
okay. I think we got the gist of what you're saying. I did talk with the country club several times, and even though they have their renovation planned for a 2021 start, they did mention that we could have the event outdoors. So that is also a possibility. So I don't know that we just discard that possibility. So in the event that St. Mary's or Kent do not work out, or there is no other option, there is that option still there remaining. It just wouldn't take place inside. It would take place outdoors at their tennis and swim facility there, which they can accommodate a large amount of people, very large group. So just an FYI.
Good.
So, okay, so we'll put that on the table or put that on the shelf then until maybe the February meeting or the March meeting, and we can revisit that. And I guess, how does the committee feel about meeting again in December, or should we push this off until the new year?
I think we can push it off to the new year.
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. My suggestion would be that whatever determination we make relative to the budget, in effect, we have made in this meeting, saying anything that is invoiced in the month of December, and we have outlined the specific items, the mounting and the labeling and additional rods and the rights and the payment for rights, that those 4 items be assessed in good faith by you, and that you advise city staff relative to that, provide for appropriate invoices, that those expenses be paid, or if you will, prepaid, and that the math be done to subtract that from the balance, and that any balance remaining be returned to the city, and that the committee doesn't have to take further action beyond simply authorizing that process here and now.
Thank you for that. And I think that buys us a little bit of time so that we don't necessarily have to complete the photo exhibit in 2020. That is something that we can work on in January and February so that it would be ready once City Hall then reopens. All right, let's look at the dates. So I guess we'll push dates off until January sometime. Should we revisit this maybe in an email so that everyone is here to participate, so that we're not selecting dates because 2 of the members are obviously not present? Maybe we could revisit that in the next few weeks, Jessica, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, we can send out a doodle poll for Fridays in January and see which date works best.
Right.
Sounds great. Okay. I'll make a note of that. I don't see, let me pull back up the, I lost the.
Yeah, I can reshare. Sorry, my computer is frozen. So let me pull the agenda back up.
Well, that's spreading. It's not just me. That's spreading disease.
Yeah.
I like your pipe, Doug. That's really interesting.
Thank you, Nancy. It's Sherlock, yeah.
Very elegant, Doug. There we are. Wonderful.
That is the memo for the next meeting date, so we can disregard that. Did you just want the agenda back?
The agenda is fine. I think that's really all we have to cover today. Date for the next meeting, and then let me see if I can. Any new business?
No new business.
Okay. Well, then I will make a motion to adjourn at 9:47.
Unanimous consent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, y'all have a wonderful holidays. Merry Christmas to everyone, or whatever you celebrate, and Happy New Year. And we will look forward to continuing this in January of next year.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Happy holidays to all. We'll see you then, and thank you all for your hard work.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Well,
you.
take care, everybody.
Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay.